Arthur Schopenhauer spent decades studying human nature, and what he discovered about manipulation in relationships would get him canceled faster than you can say toxic masculinity. But here's the thing, and I need you to really hear this. Whether you agree with him or not doesn't change the fact that understanding these patterns might explain every confusing interaction you've ever had with women. And before you click away thinking this is some red pill garbage, just hold on. Because what I'm about to share isn't about blaming anyone. It's about pattern recognition. And that makes all the difference. Truth number 1 is going to sting. Schopenhauer observed that women instinctively understand something most men never figure out. Control isn't about aggression. It's about becoming necessary. Think about your last relationship for a second. Really think about it. Who was actually calling the shots? Now, I don't mean who was yelling louder or making demands. I mean who was subtly steering every decision while making it feel like you were the one in control. That's the genius of it. Schopenhauer argued that women have evolved to master what he called indirect power, the ability to shape outcomes without ever appearing to hold authority. And look, evolution doesn't care about your feelings. It cares about survival. For thousands of years, women couldn't own property, couldn't hold positions of power, couldn't directly control their circumstances. So what happened? They got really, really good at controlling the people who had power. And here's where it gets interesting. This isn't conscious manipulation in most cases. It's instinctive, like how you don't consciously decide to pull your hand away from a hot stove. The mechanisms are built in. You've experienced this, even if you haven't named it. That moment when she says, "I'm fine," but everything in her body language screams the opposite. She's not lying. She's creating a situation where you have to pursue, investigate, prove yourself. You become the actor. She becomes the stage director. Or think about this scenario, and I guarantee this has happened to you. She mentions something she wants. Not directly. Never directly. She'll say, "Oh, that's nice," while looking at something in a store. 3 weeks later, you haven't gotten it for her, and suddenly there's this tension you can't quite identify. You're walking on eggshells and you don't even know why. That's weaponized subtlety. But wait, because it gets more layered than that. Schopenhauer noticed that women excel at creating emotional debt. You know what I'm talking about. She does something thoughtful for you, makes you dinner, remembers some small detail you mentioned once, supports you through a tough day. And it feels great, right? It should feel great. Except 6 months later, during an argument about something completely unrelated, it comes up. "I'm always there for you, but when I need you, you're nowhere to be found." And suddenly you're defending yourself against a debt you didn't know you owed. The kicker? She probably doesn't even realize she's doing it. This is subconscious accounting. The ledger is always open, always tallying. Now here's where most guys make a massive mistake. They hear this and think, all women are manipulative monsters. Wrong. Dead wrong. That's not what Schopenhauer was saying, and it's not what I'm saying either. Truth number 2 is going to flip your perspective entirely. Schopenhauer argued that this behavior isn't evil. It's rational. And understanding the difference between those two things is what separates boys from men. Here's what he meant. If you were physically weaker than the people around you, had fewer legal rights, and your entire future depended on choosing the right partner, you'd develop sophisticated social strategies too. You'd have to. This isn't about women being worse than men. It's about women being adapted to different survival pressures than men. Men competed through direct confrontation, physical strength, visible achievement, overt displays of power. That's how we got status, resources, mates. We could be straightforward because we had the luxury of force. Women couldn't do that. So they evolved different tools: emotional intelligence, social manipulation, the ability to read subtle cues and navigate complex interpersonal dynamics. These aren't character flaws. They're survival skills that got encoded into the playbook over thousands of generations. But here's the trap most guys fall into. They think recognizing these patterns means they can outsmart them. They read this stuff, nod along, and think, now I'm immune to manipulation. You're not. And that brings us to the harshest truth of all. Truth number 3 is the one nobody wants to acknowledge, but it's the most important. You're complicit in your own manipulation. Yeah, I said it. Hear me out. Every time she uses tears to end an argument and you immediately back down, you're training her that tears work. Every time she gives you the silent treatment and you come crawling back with apologies, you're reinforcing that withdrawal of affection is an effective weapon. Every time she dangles physical intimacy as a reward for good behavior and you perform like a trained seal, guess what? You're the one who made that dynamic possible. Schopenhauer understood something crucial. Manipulation only works when there's a willing participant. And men are desperate to participate because we're biologically wired to seek female approval. That is not weakness. That is testosterone and evolutionary psychology doing exactly what they're designed to do. Your brain lights up when she smiles at you. Your stress hormones spike when she's upset. You're hardwired to care about her emotional state more than your own rational interests. And she knows this. Maybe not consciously, but she knows it the same way a spider knows how to build a web. So what do you do with this information? Because here's the thing. You can't unhear what you've just heard. You're going to see these patterns everywhere now. In your current relationship, in your past relationships, in your friends' relationships. And that awareness is either going to make you bitter and resentful, or it's going to make you strategic and effective. The men who win aren't the ones who fight against female nature. They're the ones who understand it and work with it. You want to know what Schopenhauer actually recommended. He said, understand the game, acknowledge it's being played, and then make conscious choices about how you engage. Not with anger, not with resentment, with clarity. Set boundaries, not aggressively, strategically. When you notice a manipulation pattern, don't explode about it. Don't even necessarily call it out. Just stop rewarding it. Create new patterns. Respond differently than she expects. When she says, I'm fine, in that tone that clearly means she's not fine, try something radical. Take her at her word. Okay, great. Watch what happens. Either she'll realize that indirect communication doesn't work with you and start being direct, or you'll discover she really was fine and you were projecting. When tears come out during a rational discussion about something important, pause. Acknowledge the emotion without letting it derail the conversation. I can see you're upset. Let's take a 10-minute break and come back to this. Don't let emotional escalation become a way to avoid accountability. When affection gets weaponized, when sex or kindness starts feeling like a commodity you have to earn through good behavior, call your own play. Stop performing. Stop seeking the reward. Build a life that doesn't require her constant validation to feel worthwhile. And here's the paradox that'll blow your mind. When you stop being easily manipulated, most women actually respect you more. Not less. More. Because deep down, she doesn't want a puppet. She's testing you. Every manipulation is a test to see if you're strong enough to hold your ground. And when you fail those tests by being too easy, too accommodating, too desperate for her approval, you're confirming that you're not the strong partner she's biologically programmed to desire. Schopenhauer was brutal in his observations, but he wasn't wrong. Women do manipulate. Men do manipulate too, just differently. The question isn't whether it happens. The question is whether you're going to be conscious of it or sleepwalk through your relationships wondering why you always feel off balance. Stop being a victim of patterns you can clearly see. Stop pretending this isn't real, because acknowledging it feels uncomfortable. Start making different choices. Start requiring direct communication. Start rewarding honesty and withdrawing attention from games. The manipulation only works if you play along. So stop playing and watch how everything changes.